On next Saturday night, April the 5th, at the Riverside Park Hotel in Macroom, there's going to be launching of a new book, which is called Memories of an Old Warrior. This is going to give an account of the War of Independence and the Civil War in the Musgrave and the Mid-Cork area. And I have with me in the studio this morning Donal Healaithe from Healaithe, who is the author of the book, and I'm going to ask Donal a few questions actually about the book. As I said, the book is going to be launched next Saturday night, the 5th of April by Eamon O'Keefe in the Riverside Park Hotel, Macroom. Donal, welcome.
Thank you.
Now, this book, which has been launched next Saturday night, it actually has 14 different items in it which were never published before. Isn't that correct?
That's right. Yeah.
You might just give us a list of the 14 items which are in the book.
Certainly will. I'd like to start by saying that Jamie was a man who always gave a moderate estimation of his own ability. He didn't want people to believe that he could do something that anybody else couldn't do. But after his death, he surprised everybody. He left a massive biography of 150,000 words after him of history on the War of Independence and the Civil War in Musgrave and Mid-Cork. And it is out of that book that the new book was spawned now and is being published. Now, the main advantages of this book, as I see it anyway, are the first items that were never published before, and I'll read some of them for you. The volunteers' chain of command is number one. There's 5 or 6,000 words on that. The structure of the volunteer movement. Now, number 2 would be the names and addresses of Musgrave's 891 volunteers. That was never published before. Number 3, a detailed account of the courthouse burning at the mills, the courthouse and the great house, in which 4 volunteers nearly lost their lives. Number 4, the history of the 5 Musgrave volunteer companies. Number 5, the brigade flying column. Number 6, the murder of Mid-Cork's 35 heroic dead. There's an account of every one of them where those tragedies happened. Number 7, the capture of the Slieve na Man by the Republicans. Number 8, the Rolls-Royce moon car. Number 9, the Battle of Ballavourne. There are the two sides are told, the Republican side and the Free State side. Number 10, the Musgrave Security Circle. Number 11, the Volunteers Intelligence Service. Number 12, the 77 White Horses commemoration in Macroom. Number 13, the Free State Intelligence Reports for Musgrave 1922-23. Number 14, there are 240 items of chronology in time from 1893 to 1923. That they would be the firsts now that you mentioned a while ago.
And these were never published before?
They were never published before, yeah.
Now, Jamie Moylan, he had a distinction of being the OC of the group of volunteers who carried out the first armed attack on the Crown Forces. And just recapping back now on what you said here, Donal, we'll just take the names and addresses of the Musgrave's 819 volunteers, and also it mentions the Cumann na Man members. Now, we're celebrating the 100th anniversary of Cumann na Man this year.
Today.
Today, is it? So that one alone there, you might give us some.
Well, those names, I'm glad that those names are published because that was Jamie's priority. He mentioned it in the first pages of the book that he was afraid that those people who did all that work that time would be forgotten, and how right he was, because they are all but forgotten at the moment. And that was his main priority, that they be that their names would be recorded for future posterity, and he did that in the book. And then of course the Cumann na Man story. They were founded 100 years ago today by Leslie Bandabara, who later became Mrs. Tom Barry. They were founded on the 2nd of April 1914, which is 100 years ago today.
That's very interesting. So as you know, all these volunteers, they're all named in this book anyway.
They're all named and their addresses. It isn't their names, but their addresses as well.
That's very, very interesting. Now, another item in the book is the brigade flying column.
Oh yes, the brigade flying column. Well, it was the brigade flying column founded by the 1st Cork Brigade, but it was known as the Ballavourne Brigade because they were based in Ballavourne.
Yeah.
there were 5 companies in Ballavourne, 5 volunteer companies, and there was eight volunteers, 8 of the best volunteers in every company recruited for the column,
Okay.
plus 15 of the best volunteers in Cork City. And
Right.
then they were reinforced by the company volunteers. Now, at the Connell ambush, for instance, 248 volunteers took part in that ambush alone. They weren't all fighting. They were most of them were reinforcing. More of them were doing outpost and sentry work on every by road in the area.
Yes.
But there was 248 volunteers took part, and the column was a very, very powerful force.
Very good.
And they had a big victory in Connell, of course.
Now, as well, Donal, in the book, it gives the story of the 77 White Horses in Macroom. That was in 1933.
Well,
No, that was a big deal, sir.
It was, but yeah, that was that had this.
You might give the story of the 77 White Horses
Yeah,
in
I
Macroom,
will.
because people might know what we're talking about.
During the Civil War, there were 77 Republicans shot without trial or court or anything else. And some of them were Jamie's friends, and he knew them. But he wanted, when the whole thing was over, he wanted to commemorate them in some way,
Yeah.
and he wasn't sure how. But he consulted with the old area comrades, and they knew that Liam Lynch was very commonly known in Ballavourne.
Yes.
And he was shot in Knockmail down. And there were 300 horses in Liam Lynch's funeral. So they gave him an idea, why not use horses? Why not use horses to commemorate those warriors?
The
White horses. So they decided on the 77 white horses, and the 77 white horses, De Valera was coming to Macroom on that particular night, and the 77 white horses, ridden by 77 volunteers, met him at Coolcour, and it took them 2 hours to march to the square. And Pat Lynch wrote an article for the Kerryman. That article is reproduced in the book, and he told the people that there was 10,000 people. That it was believed there was 10,000 people in Macroom that particular night, but it took 2 hours to come to march from Coolcour to the square in Macroom. That was the night of the 77 white horses, and that was in 1933.
It must have been some sight.
Well, it was, surely it was.
To have 77
But this is a story that I'm sure is forgotten because people don't know anything about it. But it will be renewed now. It is in the story. The whole story is in the book. And Pat Lynch's the article that Pat Lynch wrote on that particular subject is published in the book as well.
No, Donal, as I said, the book has been last next Saturday night.
That's
in
right.
the Riverside Park Hotel. Hopefully there will be a big crowd at the launch. And what price is the book priced at to buy?
The price is €20.
€20.
I'd like to say as well that I had to delete 40,000 words out of Jamie's total of 150 to produce this book. There was too much stuff altogether in it, and that's the pity of it. But there was no way out of it. We had to bring it down to 110,000. So that's. But it is a very comprehensive book as it is.
And just as a matter of interest, it must have taken us a fair bit of time to research all that and
Well, we're at it with the past 10 or 11 years.
10 or 11 years.
Yeah, when we actually, I wouldn't be working on it during the summer months. It would be the winter months and the long nights, and then stop maybe for the summer again, that kind of thing. We didn't do it constantly.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But there was a good bit of work on it.
I can imagine, yeah. So we hope that there will be crowd turn up for the.
Oh, thanks very much.
And I know they will, and that again, well done to you for the work of it, because this is history, and it's good to have it in print, and people can see what happened back in those times.
Thanks.
Okay, Donal, thanks
All right.
again for coming in.
All right,
Thanks, Donal.